Hello everyone and welcome to Joys at Five. In this video I'm going to be teaching you how to sew a half circle skirt. Half circle skirts are probably the simplest thing you can make, so it's perfect if you're a beginner and wanting to learn how to sew your own clothes. It was in fact the first thing I ever made. The thing I love about them is there's no paper pattern needed, so that means no downloading annoying PDF files. All you need are 2 measurements and you can create the whole thing with just fabric and a sewing machine, more or less. To start off with, you are going to need approximately 3 meters of fabric. I'm using viscose as it's really lightweight and will drape really nicely, but any dressmaking fabric will be fine. Next we have interfacing, preferably medium as it will hold its structure better, but iron-on or sew-on is fine. Next you need a zip. Mine's just an ordinary zip. You can use an invisible one if you like, and mine is 12 inches long. To go with the zip you'll need either a snap fastener or a hook and eye. And of course we have our general sewing equipment, so that's things like your sewing machine, scissors, pins, a stitch ripper, iron and your measuring tape. First of all, we're going to take just 2 measurements, your waist and then the length you would like your skirt to be. Now just before we start cutting out, you're just going to need a little bit of maths. So get your calculator and you're going to put in your waist measurement, divide it by pi and see what your answer is. So mine is a very long decimal, so I'm going to round it up to 9. Now fold your fabric in half, wrong sides together, and from the corner of your fabric along the fold, measure the number that you just calculated. Make a mark on the fabric with a pencil or chalk. Keeping your measuring tape in the corner of your fabric, move it around in the semicircle direction, marking your measurement at different points. Continue doing this until you come to the other edge of your fabric. Connect all your marks up and you've just created the waist of your skirt. Now you're going to do a similar process but for the length of your skirt. So along the fold, measure the length of your skirt starting from your waist circle that you made before. Continue going around in a semicircle shape until you come to the other edge of the fabric. Along the bottom of your skirt, add a 1/2 inch seam allowance and cut it out. Then cut out your waist directly on the line you created. The last thing to cut out is your waistband, and for that use the measurement shown on the screen here. Then cut out the exact same out of your interfacing. To begin with, you are going to want to make a double hem along the bottom edge of your skirt. So iron 1/4 inch and then iron another hem of 1/4 inch and only pin in place. Sounds strange, but we're not going to sew it yet. Fold your fabric in half, right sides together and pin in place. You are then going to sew down that edge with a 5/8 inch seam allowance and using your longest stitch length. So for me that will be 4. Place your zip along that edge and make a mark about 1/4 inch before it finishes. Now you're going to sew starting from that mark down to the bottom with your normal stitch length. Once you've sewn it, iron the seam open. Now the next few steps are how to sew the zip. If you're still a bit unsure about it, check the link in the description and see my video and blog post on how to sew them in detail. Place your zip face down along the seam and pin it in place. Make sure that the teeth on the zip align directly with the stitching. Now sew all the way around your zip. To help with sewing your zip, use a zip presser foot on your sewing machine. Then, with your stitch ripper, rip the centre seam which covers your zip. Now it's time to move on to the waistband. Attach your interfacing to the wrong side of your fabric as needed, and then we're going to move over to our iron. Fold your fabric in half wrong sides together and iron flat. Then open it back up and along every edge iron a 1/4 inch hem. Now moving back to your main fabric, pin your waistband right sides together with the top edge of your skirt. Along one side by where your zip is, leave a 1/4 inch overhanging. And then on the other side, leave the rest of your excess fabric of your waistband. Now sew your waistband and skirt together. Make sure the seam is ironed up towards the waistband, so on the extra pieces of fabric, it creates a hem. Then fold your waistband in half right sides together and pin in place. Now this is where that ironing before is going to come in handy, because you're still going to want that hem that you created to be folded up. Now sew down both of the shortest edges. Trim any excess fabric and snip the corners. Then you can turn the waistband right sides out and iron flat. Now here comes the only really fiddly bit. You're going to want to pin your waistband together with your hem covering the inside raw seam. Now it's time to sew the waistband together. I like to over sew from the outside of the skirt so I can see what it will look like when it's finished. Now we are almost done, and one of the last things you need to do is to sew either your snap fastener or hook and eye onto either side of your waistband. And last but not least, it's now time to finally sew that hem that we ironed at the very beginning. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this video helped. If you would like to see some more sewing and crochet tutorials or delicious recipes, then subscribe to our channel and help us grow.